And welcome into another episode of The Big Hit. As always, I'm your host, Tim Quigley. On today's show, we're talking upsets. FSU and LSU both go down, but are they down for the count? We preview the NBA, give some power rankings, see who our analysts have in their top 5 in the entire league. A little tongue twister there earlier in the show. Take a look into the MLB playoffs, and later to close out the show, some IUP football after a very successful homecoming game. More on that to come, but we're kicking things off on the very end. Mike Milner in the middle, Josh Carney. We call this segment The First Cut. And guys, I know you two, especially along with everybody else here at the IUP campus, tuned in Sunday at 1:10. Eagles, Steelers, the matchup we've all been waiting for. The matchup to decide who is the better team in the state. Quite frankly, I think it was a sloppy game, but again, this isn't about me. I'm going to start down with you, Mike. Did the Steelers pull out the win they pulled out the win last second field goal. Again, is this loss on Vic with all his fumble problems, or is this on somebody else?
I would have to, I hate to say it, but I would hate to, I have to put it all on Vic. Yeah, I know he didn't have much protection and he got hit a lot, but he had 11 turnovers in 5 games. They got veteran players fumbling the ball, and when he tries to, if you look at him, when he's in the pocket, he's like Ben. When the pocket collapses, he just panics and he doesn't know what to do. But when Ben is in the pocket and the pocket collapses, he keeps his arm cocked and ready, and he can throw it downfield and stuff. But I think Vic is just doing way too much, trying to do too much, and he panics, and then that's how he causes the fumble. He just needs to calm down, relax, and have him run the ball if he needs to.
Yeah, definitely one of Vic's problems is when he snaps back. Most quarterbacks have both hands up, ready at all times till they're ready to throw. Vic kind of brings it back
and he brings it down to his side.
He brings it down a little loose. But Josh, I know you're probably going to talk on something here, maybe some of the same things, but what do you got to say about this?
Yeah, I think this was on Vic, definitely, but I really think the Steelers stole one. The Eagles are still a better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. The Steelers struggled offensively for 3+ quarters and finally turned it around there in the fourth. They have a lot of work to do. The Eagles still have so much offensive talent that they don't know what to do with it. And Michael Vick turning the ball over at midfield where they can go down and get a field goal, or turning the ball over at the goal line. That is huge. That ends the game right there for the Philadelphia Eagles. Michael Vick needs to take a step back and realize that he's not the Michael Vick of the Atlanta Falcon years where he could do no wrong. He needs to become an actual NFL quarterback. Stop trying to run. Just sit back in the pocket and throw to your playmakers. This was definitely on Michael Vick and on Andy Reid. You don't give LaShawn McCoy 20+ touches. Come on, he's one of the best backs in the league. Go to him.
Yeah, you give the ball to your playmakers, very basic thing.
Yeah.
Essentially what you're trying to say.
Quit trying to make Michael Vick do everything.
Yeah, because so far he's proven that.
They're trying to make Michael Vick, they're trying to make the Eagles more of a throwing team. They'll throw the ball 65% of the time instead of running it. But when you got a running back like McCoy, you should just run the ball more, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think every Eagle fan is going to agree with you on that one. One more thing I'm going to ask you here about the Eagles before we turn it over and talk about the winners of this game, that being the Steelers. Michael Vick, Mike, I think you touched on it a little bit, 11 turnovers in these 5 games. If you're Andy Reid and if you're most of the 90% of the Philadelphia fan base, like you're screaming for Nick Foles, do you make that substitution now?
You don't make that substitution.
And why not?
Because if you put Nick Foles in, you'll ruin the confidence of Mike Vick. And you don't know how good Foles is going to do when he comes in here. That's gambling with the. He might even not do well, and then you lose the season. Vic could easily come back from this. He just has to take a step back and just get his bearings together.
Yeah, you paid Michael Vick $100+ million for a reason, and to bail on him 5 games into the season would be absolutely ridiculous. And that would basically put the final nail in the coffin for Andy Reid.
I agree.
You have to stick with Michael Vick. He is the best option back there at quarterback. Nick Foles impressed people in preseason, but people need to remember it's preseason. He's going against other scrubs at certain points in the game. You can't expect him to step in against, other defenses that are top flight defenses that he's going to face later on down the line. You can't expect him to step in and take this team where it should go. Whereas Michael Vick will take this team where it should go, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, Michael Vick, again, just it could be a giant mental problem too.
Yeah.
Mike, I know I keep referencing to you, but again, he drops back into the pocket. His first thought is run because, as Josh, as you mentioned, that was his first thing to do in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That offense isn't geared around that. The offense is built for speed downfield and elusiveness in the backfield with LaShawn McCoy.
I think he's having trouble reading the field when when the pocket's collapsing. Then he could see everything, and he's ready to make that play or pump fake, get the people to slow down. But when the pocket collapses on Vic, he just panics all the time and can't read.
Yeah, and you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, when they're successful, the big wins they've had this year. You look at the New York Giants on Sunday night. You look at the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday afternoon. They went to LaShawn McCoy. They fed him the ball, and they won the game. They didn't make Michael Vick throw the ball 40-plus times and run the ball 5-10 times. They went to LaShawn McCoy. He is their biggest threat offensively. They need to put the ball in his hands because when they do, good things happen for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And that's what they're, again, LaShawn McCoy, give the ball to your playmaker. Andy Reid, if you happen to be watching IUP-TV right now, take it from all of us. Just give the ball to Shady. Things will shape up. Again, let's turn things over now to Pittsburgh, the actual winners of this game, because I know a lot of this area, quite frankly, just wants to hear about the Pittsburgh side of things, which, hey, give you credit. Pittsburgh won. Again, this game we saw the return of Rashard Mendenhall, and I want to ask you two guys, is that what's been missing from the Steelers' offense in the run game especially? Because we've known before, up to this game, run game been non-existent.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that much of a factor. We have other running backs that could take his spot if he ever goes down, like Redman and all the other players. But he is our starting running back, and he is a leader on the team. So I feel like it did come down to him, like he was our missing link. But like I said, we got other people that could always fill in for him.
Yeah, I really think Rashard Mendenhall definitely stepped up and added that second dimension to the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. He isn't, a top 10 running back in the NFL in my opinion, but he brings experience that Isaac Redman and Jonathan Dwyer and Chris Rainey don't possess. And you saw the moves he can make in the hole and get away from a defender. There was a play where he caught the lateral from Ben Roethlisberger in the red zone, made one move on Michael Kendricks, and walked into the end zone untouched. That's what he brings to this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. He brings another weapon who's been there, who's done that in the NFL. And he is a very good running back. He's definitely head and shoulders above, Isaac Redman, Jonathan Dwyer. And it's huge seeing him come back. It was good seeing him, run the ball for this Pittsburgh Steelers offense.
It's definitely good, as you can see there on the graphic, 81 yards, 2 receptions, a touchdown on 14 attempts. Pretty good overall day for the season debut of Rashard Mendenhall, if I do say so myself. Again, one more thing I just want to ask you guys real quick. Yes or no answer. Was it a real sloppy game, or is this the kind of football you kind of expected from both teams?
I think it was kind of sloppy. Some of the hits, like on Ryan Clark when he went to make that tackle, they called it helmet to helmet. There's only so much you could do to hit right. He led with his shoulder, and your helmets are going to hit. But I think there were some bad calls.
Yeah, the Steelers definitely struggled offensively. Defensively, they looked very good. But the Philadelphia Eagles, I said this earlier, they gave this game away. This was a game the Philadelphia Eagles should have won, and they dropped the ball. Michael Vick did.
Yeah, Michael. So. Yeah, when you fumble on your own, or not your own 2-yard line, it was the Steelers' 2-yard line, killing that red zone drive. If they convert that, doesn't fumble, maybe score a touchdown, completely different game.
Game's over.
Game's over. Well, let's take a look past this game. Actually, I want to change it up here. Drew Brees, new NFL record, 48 consecutive games with a touchdown pass, beating one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. I wish I could have seen him play, Johnny Unitas. Yeah. Big Johnny U of the Baltimore Colts, not the Indianapolis Colts, before they moved. I'm going to ask you guys, do you consider Drew Brees now, after breaking this record, a top quarterback in the league? And if so, is he a Hall of Famer after this kind of record-breaking performance?
I believe he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's like the number 1 in the league, but he's definitely probably in the top 10. I'd even put him in the top 5 because he was 29 for 45, and he also had 370 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, and with the whole thing going on with the whole bounty and everything, the team's been struggling, and he's been the leader since he's a vet, and getting the team back together and winning all the time.
Yeah.
Starting to win now, and I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Maybe a few years ago he was in the top 5 in my opinion, but just the game has changed, and there have been younger quarterbacks that come in. You see quarterbacks grow before our eyes. I definitely think he's top 10 NFL quarterback. I have him at number 7, but in my opinion he is an NFL Hall of Famer, especially after he came to New Orleans where he was able to, really throw the ball around the field, whereas in San Diego he was kind of handcuffed having LaDainian Tomlinson, who at the time was the best running back in the game, behind him. But now that he's in New Orleans, he's really just asked to throw the ball 50-plus times a game. He's putting up the stats. He has the Super Bowl victory. That right there is enough to get in the Hall of Fame. And then you have, one of the most elusive records of all time. 48 straight games with a touchdown pass in the National Football League is saying something. And Drew Brees now holds that and beats an all-time great in Johnny Unitas. He's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Definite. Well, I wouldn't say definite Hall of Famer. He's had one of the best single-season performances. But, I want to see him win one more Super Bowl. Then we can talk about Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. But I want to continue this talk, but unfortunately I'm getting told to wrap it up. But you know what? Stay tuned. Next segment up, it's going to be some NCAA, FSU, LSU went down. Who stays on top? Coming up next.
Today I'm going to talk about Patty. Patty's best characteristics, she's stupid. Stupid and ugly. Everything she does is ugly. Watch her eat. Watch her stuff her face. Look at her. Greasy hair, dirty fingernails. It makes me want to vomit. Get a life, Patty. Thank you.
It's gonna get louder.
There are heroes among us. They don't fly or bend steel or ride off into the sunset. They simply volunteer to look after someone else's health by providing comfort, lending a hand, or simply keeping us on track. Everyone's health needs a hero. Who will you look out for?
Find out how you can participate in improving our health. Visit iparticipate.org.
The big hit, as promised before the break, we're going to get into some NCAA talk, and joining me on the end, Kyle Pillar, and in the middle, always dressed sharp as always, Tom Nobles. Again, I know it's a professional thing, I just got to mention it. Epic coat. Epic coat.
It's easy talk.
Sharp as a tack.
Girls go something about a sharp dressed man, Tim.
Okay, if we're going to go into the old 80s rock here, then I might as well just leave because I'll bore everybody for days. But you know what? Enough about that. Let's dive into some NCAA. Guys, West Virginia goes down to Austin, Texas, and wins a shootout. Again, Texas shootout. You go out there, they win. Final score, 48-45. Kyle, I want to start with you. Can we say that WVU is now for real? And if they win out the season, could they win or go to a national title game?
Well, Tim, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head where you said shootout. You look at this game, it was 48-45. And we've seen this kind of grow on college football over the last few years where, shootouts used to be 28-21. But regardless, we're seeing teams now like West Virginia be able to put up 48 points against a really good Texas team. But at the same time, West Virginia's defense scares me. Not so much scares me, but it worries me because it shows that a team that can score up to 48, 60 points a game still can give up that many points in return. So when you have Geno Smith, who has 1,996 passing yards and a 24-0 touchdown interception ratio. Excuse me. Thank you, Tim. That's not something to mess with. But then you look at it and you see what their defense is doing and giving up, anywhere from 24 to 45 points a game. It's just not going to cut it. But Tim, to answer your question, I think that they can be a legitimate threat, maybe a dark horse right now, just because their defense might not be able to carry them all the way.
Yeah, definitely. Defense is one thing that West Virginia historically not known for, especially Geno Smith putting on the kind of year he has had. I think defense has averaged giving up 42 points a game.
35.
35, yeah. It's insanely high number. If they don't have Geno Smith, they're probably going to have a losing record. But, Tom, I want to ask you the same thing. I know it's a little far to look ahead to a national title game right now when we're almost at the midway point of the season. But do you think West Virginia's for real and they can make a run at the title?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it starts with Geno Smith. Starts and ends with Geno Smith, actually. And they're second in the nation in passing right now, fifth in overall scoring in the nation. But what they brought against Texas was a different type of ball game as well too. They started implementing the run. They ran the ball a lot more than they have in the previous 4 games. And Andrew Brewer racking up over 200 yards. So they're having different ways to beat you now, as opposed to just all being on Geno Smith. I mean, Geno Smith still had a great game, but with adding that running game now, it makes them sort of a dual threat. But the defense, like Kyle pointed out, is definitely a worry point where if your defense, you're forcing the offense to score more points than a defense on a consistent basis, where if you have a defense that can kind of hold the team back, like a lot of the teams in the SEC, then your offense has a lot better chance. You're not having to score every time your offense goes out on the field.
Yeah, definitely. Again, defense, West Virginia seems to never show up for a game, but luckily they've got Geno Smith. Let's move on here, guys. Let's take a trip down to South Carolina as they beat the Georgia Bulldogs and remain undefeated, bumping up now to number 3 in the entire country. I want to ask you two guys, can they make a push? They've got LSU, Florida, and Clemson. Those are the only ranked teams they have left. Not the easiest schedule in the world, but do you think they could pull off an undefeated season and, same thing as West Virginia, make a push for the title?
Well, just to recap, Tom, the South Carolina's coming off a big win, a 35-7 victory over the Georgia Bulldogs, who were ranked 5th in the nation going into last week. And, I mean, we didn't see a whole lot from quarterback Connor Shaw from South Carolina. He only was 6 for 10, which isn't all that impressive. But he had 162 yards. Marcus Lattimore had 109 rushing yards on the ground for the Gamecocks. So they're making up for it. But to me, I don't necessarily want to say that South Carolina is – I don't want to say they're not the real deal, because I believe they're in the 74th in the nation when it comes to pass yards per game. I mean, they're not down there really as far as, just being the elite within the top 5 in each category. But, I mean, they are continuing to win. They're playing in the SEC, definitely a tough conference. But I think that you play LSU and you play Clemson, you play Florida coming up. I mean, those could be 3 big tests, but nonetheless, I think they can make a push.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to sell me that the Spurrier-led offense is only going to throw the ball 10 times, I wouldn't have bought it. But here we are. That's what they did against Georgia, and it's still getting a big win against Georgia. But to bring up their schedule, they have Florida and Clemson both at home. They go into LSU, which is going to be a tough matchup for them. But I really hope they win that game, because that's going to set up a game against Florida where they're gonna Spurrier is gonna face his old team with possible national championship hopes on the line. But the South Carolina, it starts with the defense. Second in nation in sacks with 25, led by Jodonovan Clowney and Chaz Sutton. So they're playing some other defense. And young guys are stepping up as well too. They had an injury to their safety 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, and the freshman came in and stepped up big. So they're getting the big plays that they need on defense, and the offense is doing enough to push it
definitely. Defense, definitely one of the big stories down there, South Carolina, Tom, as you mentioned. Number 2 in the entire country, and that's pretty impressive when you got defenses like Alabama, what we thought LSU, Florida State, and a bunch of other teams. But speaking of LSU and Florida State, both got upset, both falling out of the top 5, barely holding into the top 10. Guys, I want to ask you, out of LSU and FSU, who has the better chance to keep the season alive, per se?
I want to say it's Florida State, and it's just because of one factor. They're going to play Boston College, and they're 1-4. Boston College, a relatively weak team this year, and we see Florida State. I had Florida State as a dark horse national champion this year, and I really thought it was going to be them as well as Alabama in the national championship. But I'm going to say Florida State rebounds better than LSU, because LSU has a pretty good defense. Definitely one of the top in the nation. But just let it slip last week against Florida. But you just have to look at who LSU plays. They're playing South Carolina this week. We just said second top defense in the nation. So I'm going to give Florida State and E.J. Manuel the upper hand. Tom?
Yeah, just quickly point out LSU. I think LSU has a better chance to go forward because of the competition they're going to face down the line. If they can get wins against South Carolina, Bama, and Mississippi State all at home, then their toughest matchup is Texas A&M on the road. But if they can get wins against all those other teams that are ranked, they can definitely move up if they only having one loss.
Definitely something to watch forward to, but eventually we're out of time on this segment. Really moving along today. Up next, NBA Power Ranking Previews. Stay tuned.
We're Steelers fans.
I'm a Steelers fan.
And we're Steelers fans. We're good sports. I'm a good sport.
I'm a good sport.
We always have
designated
driver.
Steelers fans.
Steelers fans don't let fans drive drunk. Responsibility has its rewards. Responsibility has its rewards.
Go!
Go! Go Steelers! Go Steelers! Go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
My mother shaped me as an actor, as a musician, as a human being. So when she was diagnosed with colon cancer, it was like our entire family got cancer. And she died when she was only 56, so this is personal. And hopefully my heartbreak is your wake-up call. You can prevent colorectal cancer. If you're 50 or older, get screened. Screening saves lives.
Welcome back to the only sports talk show that really matters, the big hit. Joining me now to do our NBA segment on the end, Mike Gosnell, or as we simply call him, the Goose. In the middle, Marquita Holmes, and let's just dive right on into this like we've done every other segment. Goose, we're going to start out with you. Give me the top 5 teams as you see in the NBA right now.
Well, the number one team is simple. It's the Miami Heat, defending champions. Added Ray Allen, added Rashard Lewis. There's really not much to say. They're the defending champions. LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and when you add the pieces like Ray Allen, Rashard Lewis, that only makes you better. Second, of course, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Their core remained intact. They had the best shooter in the game in Kevin Durant. Fast-moving, high-octane offense. Expect all the same good things from them this year. The LA Lakers with their big three out there, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, of course. San Antonio Spurs, the old folks' home down there in Texas. They're still getting things done. And, of course, the Boston Celtics, losing Ray Allen, but they add Jason Terry, Courtney Lee, supplement the shooting. And they drafted really well. They got Fab Melo, Jared Sullinger. So things will be looking up for the Celtics this year, too. So that's my top 5. I think it was relatively easy to pick.
Yeah, and pretty surprising of Boston, too, go out there and get Sullinger and
Fab Melo.
Fab Melo, yeah, especially when you've got Garnett and a couple of the other guys getting older. But, Marquita, who do you have in your top 5?
Well,
Any different than Goose?
Yes, my list is a little bit different. At the top, I also have the defending champion, Miami Heat, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who they beat. I have the Lakers. They did add Steve Nash. They have Dwight Howard. They added some pieces to that puzzle, but I think they're kind of old. Kobe only has 2 years left, and he may retire after that. I have the Clippers staying in L.A. They do get Chauncey Billups back. They added Matt Barnes, and they bring back Lamar Odom. So that's going to be a deep team right there. They're going to be tough to beat all around with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. And then I have the 76ers. This may come as a surprise, but they added the best center in the game in Andrew Bynum, who will be healthy. You have great young talent around them. And last season, they were third in points allowed with only 89 points per game. So you add a scoring center and somebody who's going to be dominant on defense. So they're going to be a team to be reckoned with come this season with that one acquisition.
One acquisition, if I
acquisition.
There you go.
Man, not mine
But-
day.
So
But
just,
do you have anything to say about any go off against on each other guys' list? You
I'm
agree or
honestly,
disagree?
I'm honestly shocked that the Philadelphia 76ers are in your top 5. I mean, they made the one big acquisition, but look who they don't have. They don't have Andre Iguodala,
That's fine.
who's a beast, who is going to make the Denver Nuggets a top 10 team in this league.
They will be.
They have Evan Turner, Drew Holiday, but when you look at that, no real star power except outside Andrew Bynum, and we all know Andrew Bynum's not really a mentally sound player. I mean, he's prone to take fits. He's a child, basically.
That's when
sometimes.
he was in LA. He was in Hollywood. Now he's back on the East Coast. He's from New Jersey, so he has that family, that stable element near him to keep him sane and mentally stable. They have LaVoy Allen, who made a big splash last year. They have a Spencer Hawes, who now you can move to the 4 position and play next to Andrew Bynum. So now you have depth at the 4 and 5 positions. You have height, you have talent, and you have guys who can defend and score. Plus, Drew Holiday is one of the best young point guards in the league. They have Evan Turner. He will be in his 3rd season. He's getting better. And now that Iguodala is not there, maybe this can be a breakout year for Evan Turner, who he was pushed to being on the bench, coming off of the bench and not starting. He may not start this year, but I think him and Thaddeus Young, they're going to have a lot of opportunities to come out and play that 3 position and give some teams some wreck in the paint, because they're going to be deep and they're going to bring some trouble to the East.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I like both your top 5 teams. Now I want to see who your top 5 players are, and whoever wants to start off that debate, feel free.
One no-brainer again is LeBron James. 27 points a game, almost 8 rebounds a game last year. Finally got his ring, the thing that he was missing the most. And he'll probably have another MVP caliber season this year. And number 2, no-brainer again, it's Kevin Durant. This leading scorer is the best pure scorer in the NBA. 28 points a game, should bump that up to almost 30 a game this year. Then we go to Dwight Howard, the best center in the game. I think he'll adjust well to the Los Angeles Lakers system. With a passer like Nash, his numbers are going to improve, and he should win Defensive Player of the Year. Rajon Rondo is my 4th-ranked guy. Probably one of the better passers in the game behind Steve Nash. Prolific passer. He's the next face of the franchise for the Celtics. And at 5, it's always the Black Mamba. It's Kobe Bryant. I know he's getting up there in age, but he's still doing what he does best. He's going to shoot the ball a lot, and he's going to score a lot, and that team's going to win a lot out in Hollywood.
Shoot a lot, win a lot. You guess you get Kobe Bryant there. Marquita, same list or a little shake-up in that list?
My list is a little bit differently. I started off with LeBron. As you said, he finally got that ring. It took him 3 trips to the finals, but he finally got it. Kevin Durant, his time will come. It's going to take a while because this is LeBron James's era. I have another Laker. I have Kobe at 3. Kobe has the most rings out of any active player. He's still a dominant force. He has a big man that can take pressure off of him. He has a point guard that can run any offense. But then I have Derrick Rose. I think Derrick Rose is arguably the best point guard in the league. Even though he's coming off of surgery, when he gets back, he's just too explosive. He can't be contained only by injury. And I have Kevin Love. And Kevin Love is going to be one of the greatest players to ever play that position. He's in Minnesota. That team doesn't have as much talent as other teams, as like a Miami team or a Laker team or even the Mavericks. But he can give you 20 points and 20 rebounds on any given night. And he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think he's going to make that Minnesota team a lot better. And that Western Conference is going to be a lot stronger than it has in past years.
Yeah, Kevin Love definitely a vital part to that Timberwolves offense. And I'm going to be a little surprised to see how Derrick Rose comes back from his knee injury, tearing his ACL as a point guard, moving around as much as he has to do. I don't know if he's lost a step or two, but...
And that's the reason why I kept him off. He's definitely top 10. But because of that injury, I just don't... And he's too much of a high-volume shooter for me. I mean, he's a lot like Russell Westbrook in that regard. But really, the talent that he has is not marquee. Luol Deng Carlos Boozer, Joakim Noah, who's not really good around the rim.
Yeah, you also have Rip Hamilton, who can shoot it from anywhere. You
but
have
he's getting
Taj
up there in
Gibson,
age.
who can defend any player and give you some good offense when needed. I think he's going to make that Bulls team better. As you see, when he was injured last year, that was a completely different team than when he was on the court.
Of course.
And when he gets back, I don't think he will have lost his step. He's in his prime. He has plenty of more years, and he just has so much talent that this injury won't really slow him down. He's going to have a quicker recovery than most people because of his determination, and he's just going to pick up where he left off.
And that was one of the only reasons why I kept him out of top 5, but he's definitely top 10.
Definitely top 10, top 5. I like to see how he rebounds to start the season, see how his knee holds up. Then I'll start to actually rank him somewhere in a list. Last thing I'm going to ask you to, what team catches your eye this season? Meaning, who could be a surprise team? Could it be the Denver Nuggets? Could it be New York even? I don't know. I'm just trying to list a couple teams, but who do you two have?
Well, one, Tim, it's not going to be New York. If you're meaning the Knicks, because there's 2 teams in New York now, the Brooklyn Nets.
True. I forgot about Brooklyn.
I'm going to say the Indiana Pacers. I think this team could go to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. I like the Indiana Pacers, Danny Granger, Roy Hibbert. They lost Darren Collison.
And they made that run last year,
They made that run last year. So I'm a huge believer in the Indiana Pacers this year. I think the sky's the limit for them if they can add a few pieces in the offseason next year. I think that they're just going to be fantastic.
I completely disagree. You said my team. You said the Nuggets. And like we said, Andre Iguodala, he's going to take that leadership out there to that young team. They have Ty Lawson. You have Andre Miller as a backup to him. You have JaVale McGee. You have some talent out there. They're going to be a great team. And also the Brooklyn Nets that you said. I think Brooklyn can be a team. They're in a whole new state, a whole new system right now. They did get Darren Williams back, and even though he wanted to be a Maverick, he's back for the right price. They added Joe Johnson. They have a lot of talent, so I'm going to go with the Brooklyn Nets.
There's a lot of shooters on the Brooklyn Nets. And like the song says, don't sleep on Brooklyn.
Don't sleep on Brooklyn. Denver Nuggets, new addition of Andre Iguodala. Watch out. Oh, again, something else we could talk about for an hour straight, maybe special show sometime down the road. But we'll have to see about that. That does it for NBA. Up next, MLB playoffs. See who's about to move on next.
Personal foul? Inactive activities on a glorious day. Huh? Let's get out there and play!
Sweet.
Ooh, freeze!
When do I get to be in? Uh-oh.
Hey, Reggie, frozen people can't talk.
PLA.
An hour a day.
I'm in. There are lots of great play ideas online, but don't stay too long.
I'm a big believer in the power of we. We can tackle the tough challenges we face and build community through service and volunteering. It's time for you to raise your hand. Go to serve.gov and get involved in something you believe in.
How will you raise your hand when they call your name?
Are you with me?
We weren't born to follow.
Welcome back to the only sports talk show that really matters, The Big Hit. And as promised before the break, MLB playoffs, one of my favorite times of the year. And I know I'm joined down by here, 2 fans of the game too. Kyle Pillar, again, on the end. Ashley Leister in the middle. And again, let's just go right on to this. We got a lot to cover in a little bit of time. Yankees win game 1, 3-2, or no, it was 7-2. Yeah, just an absolute collapse in the 9th inning there for game 1. Orioles come back, win game 2. Kyle, we'll start it down at you. Do the Orioles have a chance to come back here, or do the Orioles series tied at 1 win this series, or do you see the Yankees prevailing like they seem to do every year?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt in my mind. I think that the Orioles, sorry, I got a little emphatic there. I just think the Orioles are a great team. The Buck Truck have been on it all along. In Game 2, we saw them not really turn the bats on, but the defense showed up and really came through. Wei Yen Chen made he was against all odds. He had zeros, goose eggs the entire column. Never started a playoff game before, going up against Andy Pettitte, who is the best of all time. 42 career playoff starts, most strikeouts, whatever. Give everything to him. But the Orioles, just a young team with fire in their stomach, came out, played a great game, held the Yankees to only 2 runs. Ichiro invented a new break dance to get across home plate. That was cool to see. But nonetheless, I think the Orioles are the real deal, and they have the momentum going back to the Bronx.
Yep, and the next 3 games in the Bronx. Ashley, do you think that's going to help the Yankees at all to help them win the series, or does Baltimore charge and move the Buck Truck on to the next to the ALCS, as I should say?
I see the Yankees winning the next 3 games at least. Maybe not the next one. It might not the sorry. It wouldn't be against Hughes. Hughes is pitching the 5th game, and the 4th game. I'm sorry. I do not see them winning that game, seeing how Hughes' record is not faring in his favor. He has more runs earned than he does strikeouts, I do believe, and I don't see them winning that game. So they're going to rely on CeCe Sebastian in the 5th game to bring the title home for the Yankees.
Well, Kyle's got the Orioles moving on. Ashley's got the Yankees. Buck Truck rolls on to the next town, which could possibly be Detroit. Detroit leads the series against the Athletics 2-0. The Athletics miracle season in potential danger. Do you two think Athletics climb out of this hole, or are they just buried by Detroit and their power bats and their power pitching?
You know what? It's tough to say. Not many teams in any professional sport come down in a 2-0 deficit, a 3-0 deficit, Ashley. But I mean, the Athletics, they do have a deep pitching. I like them. I know they're kind of that team. I don't know if Oakland was really hotter at the end of the season or if it was Baltimore, but nonetheless, I think that Detroit has Verlander. Their pitching's phenomenal. The bats are heating up. I really like this Detroit team. They kind of surprised me. I didn't think they were going to do this well in the postseason, but they're off to a 2-0 start, and I'm going to give the Tigers the upper hand here. Oakland's not coming back.
Yeah, I also give Detroit the upper hand. I mean, I think that they want to get the next win and then try to move on to the championship game, so they have Verlander starting for the next series. I think that's their plan in trying to get it to work out that way, so that Verlander starts against either Baltimore or the Yankees for the championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think Detroit's one of the favorites here in the entire American League that's left. I think they go out there, they win the next game. I believe it's Wednesday night at 7. I think it's the night game. Again, Detroit, nothing stopping their power bats, and the Triple Crown winner this year. First one since 1967. Who was the last player to win the Triple Crown?
Last name starts with a Y.
Carl Yastrzemski.
Yes.
The Boston Red Sox all the way back, 1967, pulling out some stats and info on the big hit for all you at home. Hopefully watching this, having a great time watching it. Let's take a ride down the interstate there to Washington.
You work for Elios now.
Who?
Elios Sports Bureau.
I might, who knows? A little under-the-table gig.
Yeah.
Hey, who knows? Ha, ha, ha. Okay, going down the interstate here, going down to Washington, D.C. They win Game 1, 3-2. They win Game 1, 3-2. Game 2, Carlos Beltran heats up, hits 2 home runs. Cardinals smash away anything the Nationals had going. Series is now tied at 1. Who wins this series and why?
You know what, Tim? Going into the series, Ashley, too, I really like the Nationals. I thought they were this MLB's postseason so full of young teams in Baltimore, Oakland. We see it with Washington. Just young teams that have fire, don't have a lot of playoff experience. I really like the Nationals. I thought that if Bryce Harper could play a role, if Gio Gonzalez could pitch. Well, I'm not thinking that now because I think really at the end of the day it comes down to experience. And the St. Louis Cardinals, they're the defending World Series champions. They've been anytime they get a wild card, you might as well mark them up as the World Series champions because they find a way to do it every single year. But they're just a team that knows how to win, despite having lost some key pieces. but I like St. Louis.
I also like St. Louis. They have 3 aces coming up to pitch their next 3 games. I think Carpenter and Little Roche and Wainwright are all going to come through and going to do what they need to do to help get this team to the next level. So.
Yeah, every time this team's in the wild card series, always find a way to go out and always put on a good show. Give credit to the first-year manager, former catcher of the Cardinals, Mike Matheny, doing a great year as head honcho of this Cardinals club. Again, good story. I think they move on, beat the Nationals against Strasburg. It's going to hurt them. I hate that move. I still hate that move, but that's my own personal opinion.
But you got to look out for him. I said.
Well, we can get into this another time. This is a whole other debate that's going to take a lot longer than an hour. Again, Reds up 2-0 in the series right now. As we are filming this right now, it is 1-1 in the 9th, potential extra innings game in Cincinnati. Reds lose Johnny Cueto, though, and that could come back to hurt them. Reds up 0-2. Do they move on? And if they move on, does the Cueto injury hurt their chances of winning a World Series?
Nope, because they win the World Series. That's my pick. I'm going to stand by it.
That was quick, Ashley.
Yep. I'm just going to stand by my pick.
I say it does hurt them, but I think they'll find a way to fight through it to get to the championship game.
The Reds have just been the hottest team in baseball all year. I mean, they might not have the best record. That went to Washington, but Cincinnati just a stellar bullpen. I mean, you lose Johnny Cueto. Okay. You still have a Ross Chapman to back it up. But Johnny Cueto, he's a great pitcher, a great starting pitcher. But I don't think, Homer Bailey, he no-hit the Pirates to end his season. He had a no-hitter through 6 innings tonight. I just think the Reds have far too much going for them this year to really see it slip away.
And they're going to probably face the Cardinals, which I see that happening. But they also had hard time with them during the regular season. So it's going to be battle of those two. It's going to come down to who can pitch more.
Yeah, I think that is what it's going to come down to. It's going to be a Cardinals-Reds matchup for the championship. I love the back end of that Cincinnati bullpen, though. 2 hard throws. Broxton throwing a heavy sinker, 94 to 96. Then he turned it over to Aroldis Chapman. Completely unfair. One of the worst 2 tandems, worst 2 in a good way. Both nasty, both high velocity, both in your face, both below it by your fastballs. 1 heavy sinker. Aroldis, that slider off the left hand, over top, very deceptive. Again, it's great. Real quick. World Series, I know this wasn't in the content, but I'm going to ask you 2 right now. World Series matchup, go.
Go ahead.
Detroit and Cincinnati. Cincinnati wins in 6.
I have Cardinals Yankees, and I'm giving the Yankees upper hand.
Orioles Reds, reversal of 1977 for the Yankees.
Good pick. I like the Orioles.
I like the Orioles
it's
too.
tough.
We and Chen and the Buck Truck roll on to the World Series title. You heard it first here on the Big Hit. Kyle Ashley, thanks for joining me. Up next, closing the show, unfortunately, a little IUP football talk. See who's going to join me next here on the Big Hit. Stay tuned.
Business in the front,
Party in the back.
I'm Ray Cardoza, IUP-TV. What? My favorite, what did you ask?
I have never dated a man in the Navy. I'm gonna burp.
I am Ray Cardoza, IUP-TV. Not like other stations, I don't know.
IUP-TV. Like no other station.
No, you're wrong.
Oh,
You
what is
screwed
it?
it up.
I'm sorry, what is it? What is it?
Not your average
Not your average
station.
station. Damn. Not like other stations. Okay.
Want to learn more about IUP-TV? We have the solution. IUP-TV is now online on Facebook. You can find us by simply searching Facebook for IUP-TV. Once you click like, you can check out your favorite shows on our IUP-TV showcase, view our broadcast schedule, get updates on everything about your favorite station, and tell us how much you love your favorite shows. IUP-TV, not like other stations.
I'm going to be the first in my family to graduate college.
I'm going to make a difference.
I knew I wanted to go to college, but I had no clue how to pay for it.
The U.S. Department of Education has over $100 billion to help students pay for college.
And the free application? You mean the FAFSA? I did it online.
I'm going to find out how to pay for college.
I'm going to college.gov.
And welcome back to the big hit. Unfortunately, our last segment of the day. And I know that hurts me. I know that hurts you two up here, especially in the middle. Mike Nicastro on the end, Josh Carney. Guys, we're here to talk a little IUP football.
Yep.
And, let's just go right on into this here. IUP had a great homecoming game against Slippery Rock, winning 33-16. Mike Box, his second game starting. Josh, started down there with you. What did you think of Box? What did you think of the game? Overall, to me, it was a great game overall, an easy win for IUP, stepping up defensively. But I want to hear what you have to say.
I thought IUP played very well, especially running the ball. They had 388 rushing yards between D'Antoine Williams and Harvey Tuck. Defensively, they played great. The Meisner brothers on the outside. Carl Thornton had a huge day up the middle, racking up 2 sacks. The linebackers, again, played well. But Mike Box took a huge step back, especially coming the week before against Millersville when he had 278 passing yards. This week, 8 for 23 with a pick, just under 100 yards. He looked shaky back there. He didn't look confident. He couldn't hit his receivers. The timing was off. And you saw IUP is definitely a running team. That they went back to the old IUP team where they can't throw the ball. And to me, that's the main concern that comes from that game.
Yeah, definitely main concern. Mike Box throwing that interception, barely getting over 100 yards, missing receivers. But the receivers also had a lot of drop passes, at least 5 or 6 in the game that I know Kyle, myself, and Vince Paparella calling on the 90.1 WIUP FM. I know we brought that up several times. Mike, you were calling it for Crimson Hawk Sports Network. What did you have to say about the game overall while you were calling it?
You want me to go through the whole thing, play by
play? If you
want
to go through, right, go for it.
Can you do
start to finish?
Yeah, go narrate it, play by play.
No, honestly, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. Josh, you mentioned that IUP is certainly a running team, and if you want to win a PSAC West championship and go even further, I'm talking national implications, you got to be able to throw the ball a little bit. They don't have any semblance of a balance right now. Mike Box, you mentioned, really struggled, but I wouldn't be quick to put all of the blame on Mike Box. He has I like to make NFL analogies for the people out there. He kind of has the Mark Sanchez effect right now. I mean, his weapons are not that great. Terrell Barnes on the outside showed a ton of potential early in the season last year. We never really saw that again. We've seen glimpses this season, of course. A big play threat, has big play capabilities, but he's not very sharp with his route running. And he struggled, I think, grasping the playbook. He doesn't play as many snaps as someone that talented should. Pat Brewer, still young, very explosive, give him credit. But the timing was just not on the entire game between Box and his receivers. Granted, the offensive line, the running game was fantastic. Obviously, the focal point for IUP. Slippery Rock still could not stop this IUP run game. 9 in the box at times. I'd have put 11 in the box. Let Box try to hit an open receiver downfield, almost like in Madden when you run all blitz and sometimes you throw it away. I don't know what I'm talking about, Tim, but Mike Box obviously has to get a little bit better if this IUP football team wants to make the playoffs, and to do that, we think they might have to win out.
Oh, Mike, you do know what you're talking about, so come on. It was
You know
great
what I mean.
Madden reference, but hey,
I'm here all day.
Well, he's here all day, everybody, apparently. You come down
boy.
to Davis Hall basement, you'll bound to see Mike Nicastro sometime.
Sleeping.
Sleeping. Oh, Mike, how we miss your antics on the show. Moving on, Harvey Tuck, you guys touched on it. IUP, heavy run team, and quite honestly, it's the running back tandem of Harvey Tuck, D'Antoine Williams, and every now and then you see an occasional Monte Green.
Didn't see him this week.
Didn't see him this week.
Register carry.
Didn't register a carry. Well, that's because you had Williams go out there for 150 yards, and Harvey Tuck put on another monster game. Guys, how much?
I think he had 233 rushing yards.
233 yards. That pulls him into third all-time now. Passing Amir Dew, third all-place. There you see it. 2012 season, 149 attempts, almost 1,000 yards.
That's a good career,
10
Tim.
touchdowns. That's a great career for anybody. I'd love to have those numbers in a single year. But, guys, touch on Harvey Tuck. Can he reach second place all-time rushing? maybe even first. I know first is a little reach, but how far does he go up into the IUP career rushing ranks?
There's not a doubt in my mind that he's going to be the second all-time leading rusher in IUP history. He's only, I believe, 170 yards behind Chris Morgan, and Chris Morgan has 3,817, and I believe Tuck's at 3,767. I could be wrong there.
Give or take, 3,700.
Yeah, he's going to pass that, and I think he does it this week. But you can't say enough about Harvey Tuck. You mentioned they were putting 9, 10 people in the box, and he was still running through people, bouncing off defenders, finding the hole. And DeAntoine Williams really, I think, stepped up this past week. Some huge runs, especially when the offense was struggling, not being able to throw the ball, giving Tuck a break. But this IUP offense, just the running game, you cannot say enough about, and it all starts with Harvey Tuck. He almost has 1,000 yards. You saw the graphic. He could break the IUP all-time single-season record for rushing touchdowns in a season of 19, held by Michael Mon. He has 10, 5 games into the year. So,
hey, impressive. Well said. Amen. I completely agree on all points. You gave me the quantitative breakdown with all the numbers, and I can't retain that information. That was solid. So I'll give you the qualitative. You like that, don't you? I'll give you
that's a good
qualitative assessment here.
That's why he's the former host.
And the reason Harvey Tuck has been so successful this year is it's a complex formula, obviously. Harvey Tuck should and does deserve most of the credit for his success, but just like a milkshake, there are many components, or a taco even. You want to make that analogy. We can use the taco metaphor tonight. If Harvey Tuck is the meat, obviously he is just the rock in that taco. He's probably the most integral part. You can't have a good taco without the meat, that's for sure. But you still need the fixings on top of that to make that meat better. That's the offensive line. You want to talk about the most experienced road graders, maybe in Division II. This is one of the best offensive line. One of the best offensive line I've seen here at IUP in my 4 years. Not one of the best, the best, obviously. I've only seen 4. So obviously those are important as well. And then the scheme, Josh. I mean, you got to give credit to the offensive coordinator, Luke Getzey, Rod Rutherford, and the coaches as well. They're the wrap of the taco. The wrap gets no credit, but without the wrap, you don't have that taco.
I believe it's a wrap if it's a burrito. I think you're thinking shell.
The
shell.
The taco. The taco shell is Kurt Signetti and the schemes they put together for Harvey Tuck. Zone blocking. I mean, you see a lot of it. A design cutback for Harvey Tuck. We've seen 70-yard runs this season from Tuck, 2 of them to be exact, where he hasn't been touched. I'm not saying that I could run through that hole necessarily, but
I feel like you could.
A capable running back certainly could as well. So as much as credit and the accolades and the headlines on the top of the paper that Harvey Tuck gets and certainly deserves, don't forget the other important
parts of the taco.
Parts of the taco. Wow, that sounds good.
I don't know how to follow that up, ladies and gentlemen. Comparing football to a taco.
It's not a great analogy, honestly, but
it's just you.
You could tell I'm extremely hungry and I haven't had dinner, and I might compare everything to food. I almost want to bite your arm off right here.
Oh boy.
Well, I'll keep this arm on this side of the table. Yeah, I'm just gonna eventually stay away from you, Mike Nicastro. Let's just move on. You know what? I'm dumbfounded for words here.
I do.
Dumbfounded for words I am over here. Next game's against Edinboro. Preview that game. If you have any other food comparisons, Mike, feel free to say them.
I apologize.
So wait, we're doing Edinboro, right?
Edinboro.
Okay. Edinboro has some weapons offensively. Cody Harris is their #1 playmaker. He's the quarterback. 10 touchdown passes, just under 1,500 passing yards this season. 5 rushing touchdowns. You can tell, he is the main part of this offense. I know they have a running back in, I can't remember his name right now. I'm sorry, but I'll get back to it. But his #1 receiver on the outside is Marcus Johnson. Has 34 catches at this point in the season. Edinboro, I believe, is a spread offense. I don't know if they really pound the ball the way IUP does. I don't think anyone does the way IUP does. But I really look for IUP's defense to, again, shut down any team they play. I don't see Edinboro really scoring many points on this defense.
IUP has played how many games this year?
5.
Just testing you. I knew it was 5, obviously. In those six. We're getting
6.
Wow, all of us are wrong.
We have a winner. 6 games. In those 6 games, I've seen IUP has been the best team on the field, even in their loss to Cal. The reason they are so good is because every single week they win in the trenches. They win up front on both sides. That offensive line that I documented in my last rant obviously has been fantastic, and the defensive line as well has been superb. Carl Thornton, Akeem Smith, They have great size. You know, Carl Thornton is one of the best nose tackles in the country in D2. Should win, you know, first team PSAC defensive line in my estimation. The defensive unit has been exceptional. They have talent all over the field. The secondary, led by Johnny Franco, has been awesome. For Cody Harris and Edinburgh to beat this IUP team, I'm going to be honest, they're going to have to catch some breaks. IUP is going to have to turn the ball over on offense. They need to, you know, you can't say stop the run game because nobody has stopped IUP's run game.
I don't think you will.
And you have to limit the run game and maybe hold Harvey and DeAntoine to 150 combined yards opposed to 200. Make IUP throw 15 passes opposed to 10 attempts, and hope you get a key turnover in that second half because the way this IUP team is balling right now, they're going to be tough to stop in the second half of the season. It really is unfortunate. I know I've harped on it a lot. That Cal game, the game that they essentially had won in the final minutes, completely outplayed Cal in that game. Cal gets a few breaks at the end of that thing to really turn the tides. But, you know, if not for that loss, and obviously it's happened, it's on the record, I think IUP might go undefeated. I think they're that talented this season. The coaching is top-notch. And I mentioned just the talent at the skill positions on this IUP football team. I haven't seen anything like it in the 4 years I've been here.
Yeah, Dev, I think any of the time, or for all of us, I don't think we've seen an IUP team this good. Especially, I always reference this during football, if you're listening to radio, it's the offensive line.
Certainly.
Again, I may not be able to pull up their names right off the top of my head, but you know what? When you're an offensive lineman, and if nobody knows your name, then quite frankly, you're doing a good job.
Dan Matha transferred from Pitt. They like to run the ball to the right side, and I don't blame him. 6'7", 240 right tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's D1 stuff.
Yeah, those stretch plays, definitely what Harvey Tuck's, touching back on to Harvey Tuck, is one of the bread and butter plays that he's had. Every time they run stretch play to the far side, I believe that's the one side.
They run right off tackle.
Run off tackles, yeah.
You know, you said bread and butter, and honestly, I was just thinking food.
I know. It was a terrible reference for Mike when he's hungry. But again, Harvey Tuck running that outside the tackles and bouncing off outside and call it the stretch play counters.
Often those are designed, too, as I know if you watch the Houston Texans, Gary Kubiak is notorious for running this zone blocking schemes where you get your flow going right, and the running back is designed to start that way and cut back because there's a lot of green on this side. And it's been effective for IUP. They're not specifically a zone blocking scheme, you know, running team, I should say, but they do mix it in every once in a while. You know, I heard firsthand, sitting up in the play-by-play booth during the game with Anthony Shear, the slippery rock coaches last week, saying it's watch for the cutback, watch for the cutback.
Couldn't stop it.
It didn't matter. Players in the field obviously weren't able to stop it. Harvey Tuck continuing to roll.
Harvey Tuck always continues to roll out there on the IUP field. Hopefully Mike Box can step it up, or quite frankly, we might see another quarterback change, which is something that this team doesn't need right now, is a third quarterback change.
I don't think they will. They had that message there. I believe it was in the second quarter. They pulled Mike Box out for one play, settled him down, you know, and put him right back in. So I think Mike Box is a starting quarterback for the rest of the season. You know, he obviously won the job single-handedly with his performance at Millersville. So they just need to keep doing what they're doing. I think they're going to be fine.
Didn't play well, no question about it, Tim, but a 33-16 victory.
Win's a win.
He's 2-0 as a starting quarterback for now.
Win is a win, but you know what, that does it. A win is a win for all of us up here too. That does it for this episode of The Big Hit. Make sure you catch us every Wednesday through Friday at 10 p.m. on the one and only IUP-TV. Make sure you check out our brand new YouTube channel, IUP-TV The Big Hit, on the one and only YouTube. For Director Jess Owalk, everybody behind scenes, everybody up here, I'm your host, Tim Quigley. See you on YouTube.